One reason why I've had a lot of success in my business is focusing on the customers, making sure that we add value to their life. The same with residents, adding value to their life. If they're saying that they want this problem to be resolved, it's our duty and our responsibility to do that. Okay? And the payoff is their happiness, right, and their success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brick by Brick, the community podcast where we build the community one conversation at a time, brick by brick. Today, I have a very special guest, Riaz Surti. Riaz is a candidate for the Cerritos City Council, and he's been walking all day, and I'm so happy you were able to make it into the studio and sit down with me.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you guys.
So, Cerritos City Council, what made you want to do it?
I think there's an opportunity to provide real leadership at the city council. I think there's been a lot of mismanagement or missed policies, bad policies. And I think we can really make a big difference in terms of providing good leadership and providing some real opportunities for the residents to benefit. There's a lot of deficiencies in our infrastructure, in our security, our safety of the city. And I think we can, having a new city council with new blood that can really bring new energy, new life, new opportunities to city.
I think that's one of the first things I noticed about you, and I like about you. You have a lot of energy, and I think it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's kind of like the entrepreneurial spirit. You can't be an entrepreneur and run businesses without a lot of energy, right?
Yeah. Well, I think in business you need three things, right? You need energy, you need knowledge, and you need money. So those are three things you need. So if you have those three things, you can go pretty far.
Yeah, 2 for 3 is not bad. I'll let you guys guess what the third one is. But you've had a long career in business.
Mm-hmm.
You still are in that career. But what was have you always wanted to be one of those politician people?
I think in some way, I was always very people oriented, right? Okay, so it wasn't an issue of politician; it's an issue of solution oriented. So when I see a problem, I think of myself as an opportunity to fix it, right? And a lot of doing something for the city or political stuff. Really, what it really is an opportunity to make society better, and it's really meaningful to me.
And the Cerritos City Council, for those that don't know, is coming up very shortly because it's an off-cycle election, right?
Correct. It's going to be on March 4th, and it's going to just about 2 weeks away from now.
And what are you doing at this stage of the campaign?
There's a lot of things. I've been walking door to door, a lot of doors. I think I've done about 18 to 1,900 houses, I think, around the latest count. Okay, and so I have 5,000 houses to do, and I've done about 2,000 of them or so. Okay, and I got another 3,000 more to go. And it's been a learning experience, knocking on people's doors. It's almost like Karate Kid. Like you keep practicing your pitch, wax on, wax off, and then eventually what happens is you start getting good at it. Okay, but I really you see the true of what's happening in Cerritos. You talk to people, and you start realizing that this is, you start seeing trends, that this is a problem people are having, right? And a lot of these things are just, it's just a good fact finding thing, and at the most basic level, just knocking somebody's door, getting them to understand where you're coming from, and then once they tell you what the problem is, you start seeing the overall trends of what's happening.
And what would you say the top couple issues that you hear from residents are in Cerritos?
I think people are concerned about safety, and especially when someone's been broken into. And I'm not sure if you know, but in Cerritos, 70%, there's been 69% jump from burglaries from the year before. And so I think that's really a big thing. And especially if someone been burglarized, you don't feel the same. In fact, you lose confidence in the city. You don't feel trust in your own home, being in your own home, and you feel completely violated. And then what happens is, it's the crime itself, and then how the crime is being responded to. Okay, so that's also another problem. So if it's done in an inadequate way or in a way that's completely unacceptable, then that's the second problem. Okay, it's the crime itself is the first problem, and how it's being treated is the second problem.
And how long have you been a Cerritos resident?
I've been there since 1979. I came as a little kid, and I went through all the schools, all the ABC school system, and been but one thing I could tell you is that Cerritos has evolved. Is changing from a city as of families now of citizens of people who's more like senior oriented.
Right. And what about the? I mean, you bring a lot of economic experience to the table. What are some things there that you think can be improved on in the city?
Oh, I think that one of the things that Cerritos needs is they need a leadership, especially in bringing jobs and bringing businesses. I think it needs leadership in terms of making the city more walkable, bringing more infrastructure to bring businesses in. It's a centrally located city. There's a lot of there's a lot of freeways, a lot of freeway access. So I think it's ripe for big companies come in, especially cloud-based companies. I would love to see a hospital come into Cerritos. I'd love to see a hotel come into Cerritos. There's a lot of property that could get redeveloped and make it to be a mixed-use place. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And one thing I love is I love when cities are walkable. There's mixed use, when there's fountains, when people are walking around. I like that idea of a place where people can go to and hang out. It's like a sense of community, kind of like how the Grove is, or how like Second Street is in Long Beach, or how Colorado is in Pasadena, right? So just a place where people are hanging out, having fun, getting ice cream, and enjoying a fountain. So I like that.
Did you hang out? You went through the ABC school system.
Mhm.
So where was your favorite places to hang out in Cerritos when you were a bit
Oh,
younger?
what I used to go to a lot of the restaurants, right? From all like I remember back in the day was Monterey Bay Canners was like a really good seafood place. Again, that was in Cerritos, right? Even just at the time when I was a kid, it was McDonald's, Burger King, fast food. There's a place called Noggles, which is like a famous, I guess like a Taco Bell before Taco Bell was, right? So just any place where like you can hang out and get cheap food, okay, and hang out late at night, and hang out with your friends, and also movie theaters. I remember back when I was growing up, we would go to movie theaters to watch movies, and then we'd go to play arcade, and at the Cerritos Mall, and it was a different era, but it was also there was a sense of innocence there, which I really appreciated.
Hmm. And so, being a longtime Cerritos resident, you opened up the your business in Cerritos, and that was the KFC, right?
Yeah, well, what happened was when I was 16 years old, I was failing high school, and I told my dad, "Can you please help me? And what do you think I should do?" And my dad said, "Go get a job at a local KFC down the street." Okay, and I remember, I think my dad was a CPA, so my dad was thinking maybe if I encouraged him to work at fast food, then I would appreciate going back to school again, right? Like a scared straight
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what ended up happening, I started working there, and I love that job. I love working at KFC.
Really?
And then 2 years later, I became assistant manager, right? And then around 18 or so, I told my dad, this franchise is for sale. Could you please buy it for me? Okay. And so my dad was a CPA. He looked at the numbers and he said, this is a good business. And then he bought the restaurant for me. And then unfortunately, what happened was after maybe about a month later, my dad passes away.
Okay.
Okay. And so that KFC, like, it was, my siblings weren't going to get involved with it. Okay, and my mom was devastated by my dad's death. Right. Okay, and so then I think what happened was so one of the requirements was when you bought the KFC that we had to hire a contractor, and the contractor I remember giving him the first deposit, and he took the money and ran with it, and
Just ran with it.
yeah, ran with so
Oh
so
wow.
so it was like it was like one of the most I don't know, they call it the moment of truth, in your life. My siblings were upset. We used the family money for that business. And on top of that, the contractor ran off with the money, and then my mom was like, I saw a look on my mother's face, and it's like, what are we gonna do here, right? And at that moment, I just realized that that no one's gonna save me financially. I just knew it very clear, right?
Right.
Okay, but that was a moment of truth for me, and that really allowed me to like really focus in. And I came up with this concept called ABC, which is always be cool. Okay, and anyhow, so and that basically meant having a spirit of optimism, a spirit of not being a pushover either, right? But also like just really just being cool in the sense that don't let anything break you.
Right.
That was it.
Right. And you probably apply that in every area and
Yeah.
probably in this election as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Because nothing like I think Shakespeare has a very famous line. It said that the course of true love never runs so smooth, and so. But I think in life, the course of a true life is not going to run smooth, right?
Right.
Okay, so I think some way you have to is how you maintain your coolness, okay, and with problems. And the one thing I could tell for myself is whenever I have a problem in my life, I always try to reduce it to size. Okay, I know so the first day it's going to be the hardest, but as time goes on, if I keep working through the solution, the problem eventually goes away. Okay, and then one thing I realize is that I always look at myself. The way I know I'm making progress in life is if I don't have the same problems over and over again,
Right.
you're having new problems.
Right.
Okay, because you're always gonna have everyone in their life is facing something like really major in their life. Okay, some sort of crisis, right? Okay, and so the key is that it shouldn't be the same crisis over and over again.
Right. Right. That reminds me of the line ask not for an easy life, but the strength to endure a difficult one.
Yeah, well,
Author unknown. I don't know who did that, but kind of the same thing. Like never wish for an easy life, because when I had my business, I had a sign above my door that said no problems, no profit. And so I kind of go by that. Usually when there are issues, there's an opportunity to do something different or just go forward.
Well, I think if the way you gotta look at problems, yeah, you really gotta look at it in this context. Is that you have to figure out, is it from you? The problem is it because of your actions,
Right. Right. That's a pretty big
okay, or is it, is
part
it,
of it.
is it or is the problem because of something that's out of your control, right? Okay,
Right.
and so I would say, like, if you keep getting flat tires, right? Okay, so maybe you're driving on the wrong road.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
Well, that's about ownership, right?
that's correct.
Like
Yeah.
taking ownership for what life is giving you. Um, it's kind of the opposite of the victimhood mentality, right? It's just I would often do it too much. I actually had to pull back. There's a book by Jocko Willink called Extreme Ownership, where it's basically just like no matter what, like it's you, and that's a hard one too sometimes. But really, as long as you lean on that side, you get there's empowerment in it, right?
Hmm.
You don't feel like you're a victim to what life throws you, and yeah, you persevere, do all that. Um, so this is an interesting election for Cerritos City Council, right?
Hmm.
Because as of right now, well, it's closed, but there's no incumbents running. Tell me about the landscape. Like what's going on with the election? From the overhead view.
Well, I just the election's gonna be on March 4th. Okay, and there's 10 candidates. I think four are dummy candidates. I think just put the name on the ballot. I think there's six viable candidates, and there are three seats open, and there are no incumbents running in this election. So, I think I have a good chance because one of the reasons why I have a good team that works with me. I have a good designer, okay, that's doing all my
Mhm.
design work, okay, and it's him, by the way.
Cat's out of the bag.
And then I also think I've been able to raise enough money to do this. It costs $70,000 to run for this office, so
70?
70,000. So
Okay. Oh, it's at large,
it's that
right?
large,
Okay.
that's correct. Okay, and so I've been able to raise 35,000 from friends and different groups that really believe in me, and then 35,000 I've been able to raise on my own, right? So. And I could tell you that having the finances, having the knowledge, having good people, good team, that's knowledge, right?
Hmm.
Okay, and then I provide the energy. Like I've always been able to really work hard, right? And I've always been relentless in that way. Like I'm never like I've never like given up, and I've always had that fight in me. I think partly because I always been like ever since I was 16, 17, 18, I've always been discounted that he's not going to make it.
Right.
But in some way that drives me, right? And I have this. We talked about ABC, always be cool, but what also motivates me in life is the idea of like just proving people wrong.
Right.
Yeah,
I think there's a healthy way to have a chip on your shoulder. Right.
yeah,
I've had it too my whole life, and I think some people it can be a destructive chip, right? But I think used properly, it's a great motivator.
Yeah, well, like I kind of view it like I kind of view it as sometimes like when I go to the gym, I say to myself, I use anger to get like for example, they can't say they won't they say I can't do this, I'm gonna do it now.
Right.
If I can't do 2 more reps, I'm gonna do 2 more reps. So
Right.
it's just a way to like motivate me, and part of it really is that I've always wanted to win, but winning in a way that no, I still think I still think I'm that 16-year-old kid that wanted to like to be accepted and to be won to win.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still that little kid inside of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Like as because I feel that a lot too.
Hmm.
And when you're growing up and you're trying to grow out of that, of like it's not about other people, you want to be accepted, especially with, with me like moving schools at 16 in a whole new area. There was a lot of that. And I spent so much of my younger adulthood trying to just like stop that. But then when I realized like as long as like it aligns with like who I am, having utility and being appreciated for all the work you do is not a bad thing.
Hmm.
There's just a positive way to channel that energy because feelings are real. We're human and we but how you channel them and how they materialize in the world is going to determine your success.
Well, I think that's really it. Because if you say it to yourself that nothing's going to stop me,
Hmm.
nothing. I always say that to myself. My mother told me something really really powerful. She said you can do whatever you want in life if you have the knowledge. So you should have the same zeal, have a strong work ethic, and also try to get the knowledge to become successful. Okay, so what that entails is, I found if you want to be successful in life, if you want to be happy in life, you have to be around that. Okay, and if
Yeah.
you're around success and happiness,
Right.
that's the key. Okay, so if you hang out with a bunch of boulders, you can become a boulder, right?
Right.
Okay, if you hang out with a bunch of wise guys, you can be wise. But if you hang out with successful people, then that rubs off on you in some way.
Yeah. I actually had a conversation regarding something similar today, and you know, in that context, it was when people are not around
Right.
success or what success looks like. You can start to other the successful people and kind of look down on the traits that make them successful. But when you're around it and you see the good, the drive, the hard work, the perseverance, the like all that stuff, that it's such a great motivator. You
Hmm.
can't discount other people's success, and it's easier to do it from afar.
Yeah, well, I know, like, I'm very particular who I hang out with, right? Because ultimately, what I want is I know there are certain people like I hang out with that I know that I'm not talking about financial only, but I'm talking about people who have zeal for knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Or people who have spiritual like who are spiritually great. Okay, I look for that as well, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and I look for people who are good natured as well, right? Okay, but ultimately, like, I don't think I need anyone to motivate me in life. Okay, so I know that so for me, I've always been this desire, like we talked about, but I do know that I'm willing to seek knowledge from anybody. Okay, and
Mhm.
so for example, if I know that someone knows something about something, okay, and I'm gonna take that knowledge from them, okay,
Yeah.
and learn from them, and grow from them, and be a fast learner. And that's the key because I realize that knowledge is yours to claim
Hmm.
in some way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not you don't find, you have to claim that knowledge.
It's there,
Yeah,
and we live in a time where it's more accessible than it ever
that's
has been.
that's correct. Yeah,
I think there's something to that too of when you're around other people. It's not just financial. It's not just, but when you are able to be yourself and be authentic, you're presenting yourself in a way where you have to trust that people can take say if you have a bad day, like take that and pump positivity back into you, things that are going to be beneficial to you. Oftentimes, some people if they're not around that, like sometimes the feedback that comes off of people that are not enriched with knowledge or perspective that's going to be more productive, it can be very counterproductive. and you want to be around people that can care for your troubles and celebrate your wins, right? Because that's what's going to uplift you. So who you're around is very important.
Mm.
I'm a big believer that how you campaign is how you're going to govern.
Mm.
Now, just looking at that, how do you feel your campaign, how you've run it so far, is going to translate into elected office?
Well, whenever I encounter a problem, I always say, if I'm talking to a resident and say, listen, I have this problem, I'm unhappy with, say, this sidewalk, this tree, and I always tell them, be part of my campaign, be part of the solution. Okay, so for example, like they'll say, I have called the city and they never responded, and I said that ultimately, the residents don't have any influence over the city staff, but the residents do have influence over the city councilors. So if you help me, okay, if you help me get elected, then all of us will talk to the city staff, because the residents elect the city councilors, right? The city councilors basically have authority over the city staff. They determine policies. So I would say that it's your city councilors are the ones that represent the city, the residents. So like, and when that becomes abundantly clear to a resident, they all say, "Who do I call?" Your city councilors are the ones that represent you. Okay, that's who you're voting in. So in terms of my leadership style, governing style, it has to be holding people accountable, having data that's going back and forth, right? And taking that. Okay, so for example, like say a city staff says, I want this done. Okay, I want a raise, or I want a promotion. I say, well, did you handle Mr. Johnson's problem really well? How did you handle that problem?
Right.
Okay, so or neighbor X, neighbor Y, neighbor Z, how do you deal with that problem? So
Right.
I think data. I think so. Part of it is like I have a business, a successful brand, right? So if my customers are not being serviced at all, I'm going to be out of business.
Right.
But before that happens, I want to find out which staff member didn't treat that customer well. So it's just identifying, and so whether it be a park and recs issue, whether it be a safety issue, whether it be a infrastructure issue, we have to identify that person and hold them responsible.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's bringing that customer service attitude into public.
Exactly right.
Yep. And it's not about just, people having a council member, or in my case, a lot of them board members' ear, and like, you nudge from the top just to fix this one problem. But it's usually that one person's issue. It's not just that one issue. So it's something to look at, address, get data on.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I remember I had one concern from a parent, and she was very concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And it involved her child. And if you ever want to, when you're dealing with parents and it's regarding their child, you get some pretty lively conversations.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always about just like caving to what they're asking for, but it's about like educating and saying like, hey, so this is the situation. And then I remember I had to tell her like, we can't do what it is you're asking, but these are the reasons why. And then once I did that, it was like a 20-minute conversation. She was so grateful. So it wasn't just about saying yes, but it's about taking the time as somebody who represents her
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, this is what's going on. And she agreed with the decision after the fact, but taking that time and being that person, it's all customer service.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you could say anything. It's like the expression. You want to hear the sweet lies or the bitter truth.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
but when you explain it properly, what you've really done is you've been able to make it a lot easier. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not easier as the right word, but it makes life better when
Mm-hmm.
people know the truth. Okay, and for example, like I walked on somebody's door, I say, no, I feel so like discouraged. I feel like and like nothing's happening. I've complained to the city, and it's the same old thing. I just feel like I'm losing hope, right? Okay, and when I tell them, listen, what you want is you want someone there that's going to help you, genuinely help you, and the way that person is that they tell you, listen, your city councilors are the ones that are going to get the job done for you, and if they're not doing the job for you, it's really that's if we have weak city councilors, you're going to have weak residents.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Once I tell them that, because if the residents are calling the city staff to do things for them and they're not getting done, it's because the residents don't have the power to do anything
Right.
in the end, right? Okay,
Right.
it's your city councilors that have the power. It's your representatives, right? So the city councilors and the residents should be on one team, okay, and dictating policies that benefit for the community.
Yeah, and another layer on that would be uh, in a well-run situation, the staff is part of the team as well, able to take the direction, have the accountability, and follow through. Because that's a hard part with some candidates. I probably did it a bit when I was running. Is you're kind of when you do get elected, you're working with these people now, and it's still they've heard all your issues, and so it's holding them accountable, but also letting them know it's not me versus you either, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I want
Good
to
point.
support you, whether that's through purchasing, whether procurement, whether it's through having clear
Good
policies,
point. Yeah.
whether it's, and then building them up. And, sometimes you have situations where not all staff is going with you, and that's a whole other issue. But ideally, well, in a perfect world, there are no problems, right? I guess,
Mhm.
even though, uh,
You're right. Yeah.
but you know, getting through those problems, it requires staff, because you're not going to be the one to go and fix a lot of those problems, yourself. But how you deal with vendors, how you hold vendors accountable, how you, who you decide to let in to do business in your city, you know, it that stuff is really important. People don't realize, like, that's a huge part of the job.
Yeah, I think you said it really well. I think because you are dealing with staff who are also human, right? Okay, and they have. I think what you have to do is you have to get buy-in, and once you get
Yeah.
buy-in, that's the key, because ultimately it's not about them, per se,
Right.
it's really about our collective interest. Okay, and if we focus on handling with proper customer service, with professionalism, with efficiency, with the end in mind. Okay, with just keeping the goal in mind. Like if the goal is for the enrichment and betterment of everyone, the whole society, that's the goal, right? Okay, so say if somebody has they want to remodel their house, okay, and it should be like you should try to make it as efficient as possible for them. Try to do it quickly, quick turnaround. Try to help them. Basically it's an attitude of a service.
Right.
Okay, so like something like that, or if say somebody had a issue of a sidewalk being damaged, right, and they want their sidewalk fixed because they're tripping over the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just being being motivated to help them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's really what it is, and I find that when it comes to like whenever I bought a restaurant or a business, right, I would have the first day I would do it, I have everyone meet everyone at the and then talk to everyone, okay, and let them know this is how we want to run the business, how we want to do this. We want to have an attitude of service and make sure that every customer is taken care of, right? Okay, and there's no question this is how we're gonna do this. And it comes down to this is changing culture is what we're trying to do. Okay,
Right.
and if you're not part of that, then there's something wrong.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so if that has to make hard choices, we make hard choices, right? But in the end, I have to my focus will always be to make sure that the residents are number one and that they're being serviced.
Yep. Totally agree.
Hmm.
Riaz, tell me a fun fact about yourself.
Well, I remember I could tell you. mm, I was the first person to ever bring Indian food products to mainstream grocery stores, right? So there's a product called samosa, or there's an Indian appetizer called samosas. They're like Indian egg roll or triangle egg rolls, right? Okay, and so I was the first person to ever bring Indian products to or Asian products to the market. And I remember like I called the Whole Foods buyer, okay, and he didn't answer the call. Then I emailed him, but I knew that he came in at 4 o'clock in the morning. This Whole Foods buyer in the Bay Area. I think it was in San Francisco. Okay, and so I just told him, "Hey, can I meet you at 4:30 in the morning?" I sent him an email. Okay, and then anyhow, so I remember driving up from LA, meeting him at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, I drove the night before, and I talked to him, and I was able to get samosas into Whole Foods. So I think I was really proud of that because I was really, and it's hard to get your products at any grocery store. But I remember he asking me like, first, he told me it's hard to get in here, but it's hard to stay in.
Right.
Okay, and how are you gonna stay in Riaz? And I said I'm a demo. I'm gonna drive from LA, and I think Whole Foods had 30 stores at the time in the Bay Area, and I said I'll demo every store within 4 weeks. So I'll drive every weekend, demo 3, 4, or 5 stores at a time. Okay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I make sure that I'll demo with the whole month. I was really proud of the fact I was able to get into a lot of stores, just to introduce these products. And then I did the same thing with gluten-free pies and cheesecakes. Did the same thing. Got into Vaughn's, Safeway, Albertsons, and I think about 300 stores, right? So it's the same way, just being honest, being following what you're gonna do, right? Okay. Also like and also having this relentless drive to do it. If I say I'm gonna do something, do everything I can to make sure it follows through on that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that was it.
I'm curious. So, where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in India. I came as a little kid. I think I was a few months old, and I remember like my father came to this country first, okay, and then he set everything up, and then he brought his family over, and I think my first place was Inglewood, California, okay,
Okay.
and then we moved to Culver City, okay, and then we moved to Cerritos. So
Okay.
yeah.
What is the? Because I know we have Little India there. What is the population of India and Cerritos?
I'm not for sure. I think maybe a couple of thousand, maybe 3, 4,000. I think but
Like percentage wise?
percentage wise, I don't. I'm not. I never kind of. I know someone gave that to me once, but I don't
Okay.
remember exactly. It could be 5%. It
Okay.
could be 6%, but I'm not sure exactly sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. So I started my personal training career in Cerritos, and there's a very strong community
Hmm.
there, and they had a couple. They were working at man, what's the name of that place? It's right there in the middle of anyway. Bala. They introduced me to Indian food and their chicken masala. Like I absolutely fell in love with it. But yeah, I know there's a strong Indian population there. Has there ever been somebody Indian from on the city
Yeah,
council?
yeah. We had a gentleman named Naresh Salanki. Okay, and
Oh, right.
he's an Indian city council. I think he might be the first. Okay,
Okay.
so and then now I think we have 2 people running. One was Ashok Panaik, and then myself.
Okay.
And so it's I think but I don't even though I'm Indian, I'm proud of being Indian, but I kind of view myself as more Cerritonian.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I've been like, in fact, when I went to India, they think I'm too gringo to be Indian, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm using a Spanish term, but okay, and then but when I'm in America, I just feel like I'm just a Cerritonian, I guess,
Yeah.
than anything else,
No, I totally agree. Regardless of where you're from, when you're sitting on city council, you're representing all districts, including the people that didn't vote for you.
Yeah, that's so true.
And
Yeah,
that's and you were saying, even today, the hard truth is you're not going to get 100% of the votes. You'll get enough to win, but sometimes people are honest, and that's a hard pill to swallow when you talk to somebody and you maybe got there just a day too late, or or you see their ballot in the mail when you're walking up to the door, and you still knock on the door because regardless of if they voted for you or not, your mindset, mine wasn't. I'm sure yours is too. I'm still going to be your representative because I'm going to win. So I still want to get to know you.
yeah. I always give my contact information, right? And I said that if I win, please call me. And if there's anything I can do for you to make your life better,
Yeah.
because I think ultimately, you have to you have to have like a servant leadership mentality.
Yep.
Okay, that's what it comes down to, right? Okay, and the profit really is making someone's life better.
Right.
That's the profit. Okay,
Right.
so if I do that, right, and I really believe that it's the same. It applies in business. It also applies in life. The more you give other people what they want, the more they give you what you want.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy you're running. Like I said, we've had a few conversations, and I was very impressed right off the get go. I'm excited for your campaign. I'm happy to be supporting the campaign, and I have a very good feeling. I know you're going to win. And one thing I love about being involved in campaigns is because 4 years isn't a long time, But there is, being every 2 years or even more so, I get involved in campaigns, and it's always a refresher of that that servitude mentality. Because I've seen other people kind of lose that. They're in for a few years and they kind of forget that you're gonna have to go knock on those doors again. So it kind of keeps it front and center for me. What I'm saying is like being around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredibly important. It's something you have to hold on to. But I absolutely love being a part of it, and especially in Cerritos because Bellflower Unified, we service the kids in Bellflower, large portion of Lakewood. But what people don't know is it's also part of Cerritos as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that area. You have a council member, Frank Yokoyama, who's on there, and he advocates for those kids a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't hear much of it from anybody else. So I always try to bring that up when we can, because those kids are BUSD kids, and so I'm excited for you to get on there, because collaboration between school districts and across cities is incredibly important. And even though it's different, different boards, different issues, different day-to-day stuff, the opportunities for collaboration is important on a you mentioned it earlier, like the setting, like the cultures, setting like the open dialogue, and people really working together. It's easy for cities or school boards to become isolated and just kind of sit there. You don't look at best practices. You don't understand the issues from the people right across the street. But you don't. But that issues bleed over. So the more we work together, the better. So I'm excited you're running. I'll give you a quick opportunity before we wrap up. I want you to talk to the camera. I just want you to give your let's see that elevator pitch.
Well, I think if you look at my background, I grew up in Cerritos, right? Since 1979, I'm an ABC school kid. My kids are ABC school kids. I remember dropping them off. I done everything, for being a kid, sitting in the same chairs that your kids are sitting in. My kids sitting in the same chairs that your kids are sitting in. Okay, being in graduation for my kids, watching them graduate, right? And that's one. And then also having a successful restaurant. And I remember that KFC was such a major impact, and not only in my life, but the lives of the attendant. I would get like memories of people. I remember that KFC. That was the best KFC I ever had in my life, right? It's so gratifying that people remember me for that. And I got so much outpouring of love, especially in especially people who are like who are maybe adults now, but they were teenagers back then. They were kids. That they say that was the best KFC I ever had, and I remember you running that store. You're so fair, and there were employees that basically said, "Can I get your lawn sign?" Because I remember working for you. You were the best boss I ever had, right? And I saw that's really gratifying. And then as far as my that having that, okay, and then also being able to use my business. I've had a lot of success in my personal life and my business professional life because just having I think I could bring that same professional success into the community, right? Okay, and all that means is that having being focused on residents for me, for my business, all being customer focused, right? But being resident focused, okay, and addressing their issues, okay. And the one reason why I've had a lot of success in my business is focusing on the customers, making sure that we add value to their life. The same with residents, adding value to their life. If they're saying that they want this problem to be resolved, it's our duty and our responsibility to do that. Okay, and the payoff is their happiness, right, and their success. Okay. And then as far as my I'm a newcomer, right? I'm bringing fresh ideas. I'm not bringing the same old. I'm not worried about political bipartisanship. I have bipartisan support. I want to represent everyone. Okay, and I think we should elect people not based on what color they are, or what nationality they are, what party they are. Even we should elect people who are sincere, who are competent, and who are going to be successful.
Very well said. Riaz Surti. All right, before we go, you got to sign my mat. This is my mat of fame here.
Okay, my pleasure.
It's kind of the tradition of the show. There it is. Riaz, again, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Brad.
Now get out there and walk. There's still it's almost midnight, but I think you can get one more house. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Brick by Brick. And remember to keep building community one conversation at a time. And I'll see you in the next one.